Have you ever felt that the story of our past is incomplete? That the neat timeline of human history, from primitive caves to sprawling cities, has pages missing? What if I told you those missing pages contain the greatest stories ever told? For generations, we've been taught a simple narrative. Humanity was primitive, and then, slowly, we became advanced. But across the globe, silent stone structures and impossible artifacts tell a different story. A story of a past far more brilliant, more sophisticated, and more mysterious than we have ever been led to believe. They are the echoes of a lost world, and they present enigmas that modern science simply cannot answer. In the next few hours, we will not just look at these mysteries. We will embark on a quest to piece together a forgotten chapter of human history, and I promise you, by the end of this journey, your understanding of our past will be changed forever. At the very end of this documentary, I will reveal a discovery so controversial that it suggests a global cataclysm may have erased an entire civilization from memory. This is not a collection of conspiracy theories. This is an investigation into hard evidence, into ruins and artifacts that you can see and touch today. We will travel from the world's oldest temple, built before the invention of the wheel, to impossible stone cities perched 13,000 feet in the Andes, and dive into the sea to uncover a 2,000-year-old computer. These are the 30 greatest enigmas of our ancient world. Prepare yourself, for the story of humanity is far grander than you have ever imagined. Our journey begins not in Mesopotamia or Egypt, but in the highlands of modern-day Turkey, at a site that has been called the single most important archaeological discovery in a century, Göbekli Tepe. For decades, historians were certain that complex society was a product of agriculture. First, we learned to farm, then we built villages, and only then, with a stable food supply, did we have the time and organization to build massive temples to our gods. Göbekli Tepe proves this theory is completely wrong. Dated to an unbelievable 12,000 years old, it is a vast and sophisticated temple complex built by people who were, by all accounts, simple hunter-gatherers. This site is 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramid, 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. Its existence is an anomaly so profound it's like finding a smartphone in a medieval castle. The site consists of dozens of massive T-shaped pillars, some weighing over 15 tons, arranged in perfect circles. They are covered in intricate carvings of predatory animals, lions, scorpions, and vultures, displaying a level of artistry and symbolism that speaks to a rich and complex spiritual world. How did a nomadic people, without metal tools, without beasts of burden, quarry, and transport these megaliths? And more importantly, why? The lead archaeologist of the site, Klaus Schmidt, proposed a revolutionary theory. Perhaps it was the other way around. Perhaps the intense, shared spiritual quest to build this magnificent temple was the very catalyst that forced humanity to invent civilization. The need to feed the hundreds of workers required for this massive project may have spurred the invention of agriculture. The need to organize the labor may have led to the first complex social hierarchies. It suggests that our ascent was driven not by the needs of the belly, but by the profound yearnings of the human spirit. Göbekli Tepe is more than just the world's oldest temple. It is the birthplace of our world, a silent testament to the idea that the search for meaning is the fundamental driver of human history. But who were these master builders? And what other secrets does this 12,000-year-old site hold, still buried beneath the earth? From the dawn of civilization, we now journey to its most iconic symbol, a structure that has haunted the human imagination for millennia, the Great Pyramid of Giza. We are told it is a tomb, a grandiose monument for the pharaoh Khufu. The official story is that it was built in just 20 years, using the brute force of over 100,000 laborers. But this simple explanation crumbles when faced with the staggering, undeniable evidence of its impossible engineering. The pyramid is composed of 2.3 million blocks of stone, weighing from 2 to 80 tons each. The precision is breathtaking. The 13-acre base is perfectly level to within half an inch. It is aligned to true north with an accuracy that modern technology would struggle to match. This wasn't just building, this was precision engineering on a planetary scale. But the true mystery lies not in the what, but in the how. Consider the king's chamber, located deep within the pyramid's heart. It is constructed from massive granite beams, weighing up to 80 tons apiece. This granite was quarried in Aswan, over 500 miles away. Mainstream Egyptology suggests these blocks were cut using copper chisels and bronze saws, then transported on wooden sleds and barges. This is where the narrative becomes fantasy. Diorite pounders, the proposed tools, can barely chip granite, let alone cut it into perfectly flat, massive beams. No known copper or bronze tool can efficiently cut through granite. And even if they could be cut, how were 80-ton blocks, the weight of a modern locomotive, lifted 200 feet into the air and placed with such precision that you can't fit a razor blade between them? The theories of giant ramps are themselves problematic. A ramp reaching the top of the pyramid would have required more material and labor than the pyramid itself, and no trace of such a colossal structure has ever been found. The mystery deepens when we look inside. The internal passageways are cut with perfect, straight lines and precise angles, a feat that seems impossible with hand tools. The sarcophagus in the king's chamber is a single, hollowed-out block of granite. It is too large to have been carried through the passageways, meaning it was placed there as the pyramid was being built around it. Why go to such extraordinary lengths for a simple burial box? Perhaps the most telling detail of all is what is missing. Unlike virtually every other Egyptian tomb, the interior of the Great Pyramid is completely devoid of any official hieroglyphs or decorations. There are no grand inscriptions celebrating the pharaoh, no depictions of his journey to the afterlife. There is only silence. This stark emptiness has led many researchers to question its function as a tomb altogether. Was it a machine? An astronomical observatory? A device for harnessing the Earth's energy? The Great Pyramid asks us a profound question. Are we looking at the work of a Bronze Age culture, or are we looking at the legacy of a technology so advanced it has been lost to time? The evidence in the stone seems to point to the latter. But if this technology existed, who possessed it, and where did it go? This question leads us to our next enigma, to a place where the stones themselves seem to cry out with evidence of a lost science. Our search for this lost technology takes us high into the Andes Mountains of South America, to the ruins of Sacsayhuaman in Peru and Pumapunku in Bolivia. Here, we are confronted with megalithic stonework that is, without exaggeration, beyond belief. At Sacsayhuaman, massive limestone walls are constructed from some of the largest blocks ever used in a building. We are not talking about simple bricks. These are colossal, irregularly shaped polygons, some weighing over 120 tons. What is so baffling is how they fit together. They are joined in a complex, interlocking pattern, like a giant jigsaw puzzle, and the seams between them are so precise that not even a single sheet of paper can be inserted. There is no mortar. The stones hold together by their sheer weight and perfect fit. The official explanation is that the Inca carved these stones using harder river cobbles and bronze chisels. But this defies logic. The precision of the joints, especially on these irregular, multi-sided blocks, suggests a technology far beyond simple pounding and grinding. Some of the stones have vitrified, glass-like surfaces at their seams, leading to speculation that the stones were somehow softened, perhaps using a high-tech energy source or a lost chemical process, allowing them to be molded into place before hardening. It is a technique for which we have no modern equivalent. If Sacsayhuaman is baffling, then Pumapunku is simply impossible. Located near the ancient city of Tiwanaku, its ruins are a chaotic jumble of stones made from granite and diorite, one of the hardest materials on Earth. The precision here is not just in the joints, but in the cuts themselves. We find perfectly straight lines, 90-degree angles, and intricate geometric patterns cut into solid rock. There are channels just millimeters wide, and drill holes that appear to have been made by high-speed power tools. Most famous are the H-blocks, identical, interlocking pieces that look as if they were mass-produced from a factory mold. How could a civilization without the wheel, written language, or iron tools achieve this kind of modern, industrial precision on one of the planet's hardest stones? Engineers and stonemasons today have admitted they would need laser cutting and computer-aided design to replicate what we see at Pumapunku. The mainstream theory of stone hammers and patient grinding feels utterly insufficient. It's like saying the Mona Lisa was painted with a house painting roller. It simply doesn't match the evidence. Pumapunku and Sacsayhuaman are not just ancient ruins. They are artifacts of an impossible technology. They suggest that our ancestors were not primitive, but were masters of a science that we have completely forgotten, a science that could shape mountains and build for eternity. But what happened to this knowledge? Our next mystery offers a tantalizing clue, a ghost from a machine that should not exist. In the year 1901, sponge divers exploring a Roman-era shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera made a discovery that would rewrite the history of technology. Amidst the amphorae and marble statues, they found a corroded lump of bronze, which for decades was thought to be little more than a piece of a broken statue. It was only through the use of advanced X-ray and CT scanning technology in the late 20th century that its true nature was revealed. This was no mere piece of metal. It was a machine of breathtaking complexity. The Antikythera mechanism, as it is now called, is an ancient analog computer. Housed in a wooden case the size of a modern laptop, it contained a system of over 30 intricate, hand-cut bronze gears. When operated by a hand crank, the mechanism could predict the movements of the heavens with astounding accuracy. This was not a simple clock. It was a mechanical cosmos. Dials on its face tracked the position of the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets visible to the naked eye. It displayed the phases of the moon and even incorporated a complex gearing system to account for the moon's elliptical orbit, a subtle astronomical variation that the Babylonians had observed, but which was not thought to have been incorporated into a mechanical device until the clocks of the Renaissance. Most astonishingly of all, the mechanism could predict solar and lunar eclipses. It was aligned to a 4-year cycle, tracking the timing of the Pan-Hellenic Games, including the Olympics. It was a complete astronomical, calendrical, and social computer, created in the 2nd century BC. The existence of the Antikythera mechanism is a profound historical anomaly. Nothing else of this complexity appears in the archaeological record for another 1,400 years. It is a technological leap so vast that it completely shatters our understanding of the ancient world. The genius required to conceive of this device, and the engineering skill required to build it, are on par with the clockmakers of 16th century Europe. Where did this knowledge come from? Was it the singular creation of a forgotten genius like Archimedes, who was rumored to have built such devices? Or is the Antikythera mechanism the sole surviving example of a widespread tradition of sophisticated Greek engineering that has been completely lost to us? The shipwreck preserved this one specimen by pure chance. How many others like it rusted away on land or lie at the bottom of the sea? The device is a ghost, a whisper of a lost scientific heritage. It proves that our ancestors were not just philosophers and poets. They were master mechanics and scientists. It forces us to wonder what other technological marvels they created that have not survived the ravages of time. And it raises an even more provocative question. If they could build a mechanical computer, what other forms of technology might they have mastered? Our next mystery suggests they may have even harnessed the power of electricity. Our investigation now takes us to the desert sands of Egypt, but not to a pyramid or a grand temple. We travel to a place far more intimate, a tomb, specifically the tomb of an Egyptian priestess from the 1st century AD. It is here that a seemingly innocuous artifact was discovered that has sparked decades of debate and controversy: the Baghdad battery. Discovered in 1936, this object consists of a simple terracotta pot about 6 inches tall. Inside, there is a copper cylinder, and suspended in the center of that cylinder, but not touching it, is an iron rod, held in place by an asphalt plug that seals the top. To a modern eye, the construction is immediately recognizable. It is the exact configuration of a galvanic cell, a simple battery. When the pot is filled with an acidic liquid, like vinegar or grape juice, both readily available in ancient times, the chemical reaction between the copper and the iron produces a small but steady electrical current, about 1 to 2 volts. Replicas of the device have proven that it works. It generates electricity. The mystery, therefore, is not if it could produce power, but for what purpose. The artifact was found in a Parthian-era settlement, but the design is so simple, it could have been known for centuries prior. Mainstream archaeology has been quick to dismiss the electrical theory, primarily because there are no other artifacts from the period that would require electricity. They propose that it was simply a storage vessel for sacred scrolls, with the metal components having no functional purpose. But this explanation seems weak. Why create such a specific and complex arrangement of metals just to hold a piece of papyrus? Others have proposed more tantalizing possibilities. One of the most popular theories is that the batteries were used for electroplating, applying a thin layer of gold or silver onto another metal surface. Experiments have shown that several Baghdad batteries linked together can indeed be used to electroplate small objects. This would have been a form of magic in the ancient world, a way to create seemingly solid gold objects at a fraction of the cost. Another, more esoteric theory suggests they were used in healing rituals, perhaps for a primitive form of electroacupuncture, delivering a mild, tingling shock to patients. We have no definitive proof. There are no ancient texts describing their use. There are no wires, no light bulbs. There is only this strange, simple pot that quietly generates an electrical current. The Baghdad battery is a frustrating and fascinating puzzle. Is it a coincidence? A fluke of design? Or is it a hint that our ancestors understood the fundamental principles of electricity thousands of years before Volta and Faraday? If they did, it would mean that our history of science is missing one of its most critical chapters. The possibility alone is electrifying. From the tangible mystery of a potential battery, we turn to the enigma of a text, a book so strange and incomprehensible that it has been called the world's most mysterious manuscript. It is known as the Voynich manuscript. Discovered in an Italian monastery in 1912 by an antique book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich, the manuscript is a small, unassuming volume, its vellum pages filled with elegant, flowing script and bizarre illustrations. Carbon dating places its creation in the early 15th century, but that is one of the only things we know for certain. The rest is a complete mystery. The text is written in an unknown alphabet, a unique system of characters that appears nowhere else on Earth. It is not a simple substitution cipher. Decades of work by the world's best cryptographers and code breakers, including the same teams that cracked the Enigma code in World War II, have failed to decipher a single word. The language, whatever it is, follows consistent linguistic patterns. Certain characters appear more frequently than others, and some combinations are common while others are rare, just as in any natural language. But what language is it? A lost European dialect? An invented artificial language? Or an elaborate and meaningless hoax? The illustrations only deepen the puzzle. The manuscript is divided into several sections. There is a botanical section, filled with drawings of fantastical plants that do not match any known species on Earth. Some appear to be composites of different real plants, while others are utterly alien. There is an astronomical section, with elaborate charts of stars, zodiacal signs, and celestial bodies, again in configurations that don't match our own heavens. Perhaps the strangest is the balneological section, which features intricate diagrams of plumbing and numerous drawings of small, naked women bathing in pools and tubes filled with a strange green liquid. What do these bizarre scenes represent? Alchemy? A lost medical text? A spiritual allegory? The mystery of the Voynich manuscript is twofold. First, what does it say? And second, why was it created? If it is a hoax, it is one of the most brilliant and elaborate hoaxes ever conceived, requiring an immense amount of effort and ingenuity for no clear purpose. If it is real, then it represents the knowledge of a culture or individual so far outside our understanding that we cannot even begin to comprehend their worldview. It is a locked book, a message from the past that we cannot read. It sits in a vault at Yale University, a silent challenge to our intelligence. The Voynich manuscript is a perfect symbol of our relationship with the ancient world. We can see the remnants of a lost knowledge. We can hold it in our hands. But its true meaning remains tantalizingly out of reach, lost in an untranslatable language. What secrets would be revealed if we could finally find the key? The answer remains one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles. For our next enigma, we return to the skies, but this time through the eyes of our medieval ancestors. On maps created long before the age of satellite imagery and aerial reconnaissance, we find depictions of the world that are, by all accounts, impossible. The most famous of these is the Piri Reis map, compiled in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer. Drawn on a gazelle skin, the map shows the coasts of Europe, North Africa, and Brazil with reasonable accuracy. But what makes it so mysterious is the southern portion of the map. It appears to show the coastline of Antarctica, a continent that was not officially discovered until 300 years later, in 1820. Even more baffling is that the map depicts Antarctica without its ice cap. It shows a landmass with coastlines, mountain ranges, and rivers that are now buried under miles of solid ice. How could this be possible? The Antarctic ice cap is millions of years old. For this coastline to have been mapped, it would have to have been done in a remote, prehistoric past, when the continent was ice-free. Mainstream historians argue that this is simply a coincidence, that the landmass depicted is a fanciful or inaccurate rendering of the South American coastline. But the similarities to the subglacial topography of Antarctica, as revealed by modern seismic surveys, are difficult to dismiss. Piri Reis himself noted on the map that he had compiled it from numerous older source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. Could he have had access to the remnants of an ancient, global mapping project conducted by a forgotten civilization with the technology to accurately survey the entire planet? The Piri Reis map is not alone. The Orontius Phineas map of 1531 also shows Antarctica in stunning detail, again without its ice sheet, complete with accurate depictions of its mountain ranges and rivers. The Mercator map of 1569 includes similar details. These maps present us with a profound paradox. They contain knowledge that their creators should not have possessed. They suggest that the world was mapped with incredible accuracy long before the known voyages of discovery. Who were these ancient cartographers? What advanced methods of surveying did they use? Did they have flying machines, or some other technology that allowed them to see the world from above? These impossible maps are more than just historical curiosities. They are potential evidence of a lost chapter of human history, a time when our ancestors knew the true shape of the world with a clarity that we have only recently regained. They force us to ask, what other knowledge did they possess that has been lost to the sands of time? This question of lost knowledge lies at the heart of our continuing quest for answers.